What, you know what? Just to be safe. Thing you did ended up saving your ass later? I had a car sitting on jack stands because I needed to do some transmission work. Before climbing under it, I thought it'd be a good idea to rock the car around. One of the jack stands was not in the right spot and the car slipped off it, slamming down on the front disc brakes. Would have killed me. One of my co-workers died earlier this year from this very thing. You were good to check. Last year this happened to my father with the front wheels off. The truck came down dead center on his chest. But he was able to crawl out somehow and walk into the house to tell my mother he needs to go to the ER. My father is one of the toughest guys I've ever met, but he was crying in pain when they made him lift his arms above his head for the x-ray. He ended up with 5 broken ribs and dislocated shoulder from prying himself free. Could have been so much worse if he was only an inch or two closer to the front. I've had a handful of these in my life. The one that popped in my head first was from a party when I was 16. It was in a small farm town about 20-25 minutes from my actual town, and everyone was out partying in somebody's parents' barn and having a real good time. I didn't realize that our DD had been drinking all night. When it was time to go, I couldn't even tell she was tipsy. But something wasn't right, so I didn't want to drive back with them. For whatever reason I decided to get the verbal tongue lashing from my mom when she came to pick me up. Well, my friends in the first car were apparently veering across the road. Got picked up by the cops and all of them got to spend the night in jail. Glad I opted for my mom. Take 10 before you send has saved my ass countless times. Means take 10 seconds to reread your email, post whatever written communication before you send. Emails, especially in the workplace, last forever. So, you mean everyone else doesn't reread their emails 40 times and then finally hit the send button with anxiety for no apparent reason? Well shit. I always reread it 40 times and then find a typo right after I hit send. Was remodeling my house. Took out a loan and had to get the house appraised to get the loan. Found that my house was worth 100k more than I had it insured for. Raised my limits on the home insurance to 50k more than the appraised value in anticipation of completing renovations. 2 weeks later, house burned to the ground due to a faulty bathroom fan that I did not touch. City, insurance company and loan company all sent separate investigators due to how shady it looked. I can't speak for the city, but I can say that the insurance company and the loan company, which has its own insurance, would have sent out an inspection for that regardless of the circumstances due to the dollar amount of the claim. Skepticism and an attitude of trust but verify are simply baked into the job. Source: was an underwriter for a major insurance company. Oofa. Did it all work out in the end? I was going on a road trip. We packed everything in the trunk. Then I realized that I forgot to check the air in the spare tire. Faced with unpacking and repacking, I thought, what are the odds? We've had the car for years. Never had a flat. We probably won't have a flat now. Then I thought, screw that, and tossed the floor pump I use for my bicycle into the trunk. Just in case. Got a flat in the middle of ducking nowhere. Spare was too flat to drive on. Floor pump saved my ass. It gets packed on every trip now. Edit. People are confusing a floor pump with a hand pump. Safety glasses. When working away, it's easy to talk yourself into doing something really quick without them, and there is always a voice in your head yelling at you to put them on. Stopped grinding the thing I was working on, got my glasses, came back. And then this chunk flies up and cracks the right lens. Spidey senses 1, Murphy's Law 0. Was about to put a new load of laundry into my washing machine in the dark. Saw what looked to be a large sock still in the washing machine. Put my hand halfway into the washing machine, then pulled my hand back up and thought, huh, I usually don't leave things in my washing machine. Turned on the light. And it was a bat sitting in there. Edit. First time uploading to IGMA, so might not work, but here's the bat I almost grabbed a few months ago. imga.com link. Thanks for all the health checking comments. Never touched him. Put him in some Tupperware and brought him outside. Left the container open and left him a bag of Doritos and he was gone in the morning. I bought a really nice tablet a few years ago. A Wacom Cintiq, essentially a drawing tablet built into a laptop, for animation and the like. Sometimes when you buy nice things they come in nice boxes, and for some reason I don't really want to throw this box away immediately. I put it in the storage area of my basement and forgot about it. After only about a month this $2,500 tablet stopped working. It wasn't dropped or damaged. And I'm still not sure how it broke. It would simply try to boot up and fail, crashing and demanding a restart. I called support and after several calls and many hours, we were unable to resolve the issue. They said I could send it back and get a new one if it wasn't physically damaged. They told me it needed to be sent back in the original box. I now keep boxes for everything I buy until the warranty expires. TLDR. Cardboard box saved me from wasting $2,500 on a plastic brick. Warranty return must be an original box. That's some lowdown shady shit. Right there. Manufacturers. Yeah. You need the original receipt. And the original box. And a picture of you posing with the product at the check stand where you purchased it. And a notarized and signed note from the store CEO testifying that you were the purchaser. Yeah. That's the ticket. Saved an email where a lead developer told me to do something stupid. A couple years later. Him now a manager who liked to yell at his subordinates. We were talking about this stupid behavior and he yelled. Well, why did you do that? I pulled up his email. Clearly instructing me to do just that. He sputtered and walked off. Speechless. This guy is one of the reasons I still have trust issues with management. Even after a string of really competent, caring, trustworthy managers. One time my boss gave me a weekly metrics recording task that didn't make a lot of sense. But hey, the guy pays me. So I did it. Like a year later we're in a meeting discussing what metrics we use and don't use, and this same boss sees it and laughs. What idiot came up with that? Everyone chuckled but me. I froze. Come on. You can tell me. They won't get in trouble. UHH. It was you, sir. Everybody laughed. Including the manager. So I started breathing again. I like that job. I was an expediter at a restaurant. It was super busy and I was trying to get runners for food. Was about to send out a stack of dim sum when I looked at the ticket again with a note that said no peanuts on the tempura tofu. I had read it earlier and didn't sprinkle peanuts on it. Another server was about to run it to the table when I told him to wait and get the actual server for the table. We were slammed and he was kinda pissed but went and got him. The actual server comes back and he's all frustrated when I ask him, does your no peanuts guy not like peanuts or is he allergic to them? Server responds with he's very allergic to them. That's why I put no peanuts on the ticket. He was all being shitty with me. I told him well the ducking tempura tofu is fried in ducking peanut oil. Didn't realize the head chef was behind me and heard the whole thing. Server didn't know we only used peanut oil. It was an Asian fusion really nice upscale restaurant. Needless to say the head chef, ducking reamed this guy. I was a half second from sending that food out too. Colon would have been bad. Depends on the peanut oil and the allergy. But the person may have been fine. The FDA does not classify highly refined peanut oil as an allergen. Studies have shown people with peanut allergies can still eat foods containing peanut oil if it is refined. But not cold pressed or extruded oil. So I'm not a superhero? Now I sound like just an asshole. Figures. When I was like 5 years old my parents took my sister and me to a planetarium show. And every kid got a souvenir pencil that had the distances of the planets from the sun written on it. Mercury, Venus, Earth, etc. The guy running the planetarium show said something like hang on to these pencils until 7th grade kids. And you can use them to cheat on your astronomy tests. He was joking but I never forgot. And sure enough it was the exact pencil I used to cheat on astronomy in 7th grade. I felt smart but also bad because I didn't feel good cheating and almost never cheated after that. I knock out my shoes and squeeze the toes for good measure. Hi Mr. Brown Recluse. Only happened once. But once was enough to convince me it was a good habit to have. I bought a used Subaru Baja that was 5 years old at the time and had 75k miles for $12k. The salesman offered an extended warranty that covered the engine for $2,500. Would last 3 years / 36k miles. That was kind of a lot. And I usually don't buy those. I don't know what got into me that day. But I said sure. 1 month and 750 miles later, after an oil change at a mechanic shop, oil started shooting into the pistons. I'm not good with cars. Oil went where it wasn't supposed to go. Completely ruined the engine and turbo. The dealer had to keep it for 3 weeks. The warranty company flew someone out to inspect the car and eventually approved a replacement engine, turbo, and any other affected parts. Total repairs cost almost $11k. And the warranty then applied to all the new parts too. Car drove like it was brand new. Later discovered the car had 5 previous owners before me. But I couldn't find any accident or serious repair history. This is probably the only time buying an extended warranty on something actually worked out in my favor. Oil went where it wasn't supposed to go. That about sums up my knowledge of cars. Glad it worked out for you. I work in IT. When I started working where I do 9 years ago, I noticed that volume shadow copies, VSS, were not turned on the file server. I went ahead and turned it on, and thank God I have never had to pull the tape in the whole 9 years, and I hope to not ever have to. I did not ask for permission to do it. Because I knew corporate wouldn't let me do it. Space was $$$ back then. The guy at corporate that was over all their servers called and thanked me for doing it because he was also going to do it, and since I did it first, he was allowed to. I have had to use the VSS copies many times, but most recently our exec VP of quality accidentally deleted her network share with all of our employees' info in them. Thankfully VSS is on and it saved my ass as well as hers. For the non-IT crowd, VSS is a service that is on MSFT servers. It allows the system to make a copy of all files changed for a period of time. I have it set to 3x a day, which captures anything deleted or changed in that time. 9, 12 and 3. I just have to show my user that deleted change lost their file. How to get them back from previous versions. No. Never show the user how VSS works. You always keep that in your back pocket and make sure they understand that when they delete something important, they royally ducked up, but that you, as a king shit IT person, are there to save their ass. When there's no apparent consequences, users get even sloppier. And in the long run, that makes your job a damn nightmare. With Scottish brogue, how else will you let your captain know you're a miracle worker? Arrive in San Francisco a week into a trip. As we gather our things during a moment of downtime, I go back to check the bus cause. You know, it never hurts. Found my passport, which I had no idea I'd dropped. This is why I check my passport religiously when I have it on me. I'm well aware it's in my purse, but I gotta check at least 50 times on the way to the airport, at the airport, etc. Had that thing stolen once when I was a kid and my mom didn't make sure it was still there, so getting back into the country was a little hard. Edit. Submitted before I was done. This is from 30 years ago, so some details may be different these days. After enlisting in the army, recruits get a list of everything they must bring to boot camp. On this list was a padlock. During processing, the 5 or so days before the real training starts, recruits are given their military equipment, including duffel bags, and told to put their things they brought with them in the duffel bag. After finally getting everything and I was left with just the padlock, I had no idea what to do with it. But I noticed if I closed my duffel bag in a certain way, I could close the lock on the hook. So when we get to the training unit and off the cattle trucks and a few hundred drill sergeants are yelling and screaming and telling us to line up, which we do, with our duffel bags in front of us. The drill sergeants then proceed to check if the bags are locked, and if not, they grab them at the bottom and whirled them around, flinging the entire contents on the ground. Everyone in the entire company had their stuff dumped except for me and one other guy. Only because locking my duffel bag was the only thing I thought of doing. Putting it in my pocket was not an option because they were very clear about not having any civilian items in our uniform pockets. Best comment of the day. One night in high school I was invited to a party in a private home in the nearby forest. A lot of the kids from school were getting drunk and smoking pot. After about 20 minutes I got a weird feeling that I needed to leave. So I said some goodbyes and left. Found out the next day that a car pulled up and started shooting into the house. Several kids were hit, but luckily no one died. This happened about 15 minutes after I left. The shooters in the car were upset that the guy that lived there owed them money for the drugs he got from them. The cops got a list of everyone there and eventually got around to talking to me. This seasoned cop asked me if I knew the shooters were coming. I said no, but I had gotten a weird feeling that I should run away. He laughed and said the same kind of feeling had saved his ass more than once or twice. He said you might think about a career in law enforcement because all the good cops had gut feelings like that. I became a musician instead.